Welcome to this explainer. If you're a 7th grade learner gearing up for social studies, you are literally in the perfect place. Today, we're unpacking your official curriculum framework for this year. We aren't just looking at the past, though. We're uncovering the foundations of American liberty, revolutionary governance, and the very formation of the identity of the United States.
So how exactly do we trace the massive shifts from prehistoric times all the way to a new century? It's a huge question, right? But history isn't just some dusty list of memorized dates and names of people who lived a long, long time ago. It's a dynamic series of world-changing shifts. It's all about how societies transformed, how conflicts were sparked, and how human choices directly shaped the world we are living in today.
Think of this explainer as your ultimate roadmap for the entire school year. We're going to map out the structural spine of the course together, uncovering exactly where things start, where they head, and all the incredible stories waiting to be discovered. Having this bird's eye view right at the beginning makes every single lesson click into place perfectly later on.
Okay, let's dive into our agenda for today. First, the U.S. history journey. Second, Unit 1, early conflicts. Third, expanding and dividing. Fourth, the epic 11-unit spine. And finally, your tools for success. Section 1, the U.S. history journey.
Listen, this curriculum is intentionally designed as a roadmap to build a complete story step by step. By moving chronologically from prehistoric North America, long before European ships ever arrived, all the way through to the challenges America faces in a brand new century, you aren't just learning isolated facts. You are tracing the exact cause and effect relationships that push the nation from one major era right into the next.
Section 2, Unit 1, early conflicts. How did colonization create both new opportunities and deep conflicts? Exploring this early history reveals a really fascinating dual nature. For some, arriving in North America was a blank canvas, an incredible opportunity to start anew. But for others, specifically Native Americans and those forced into transatlantic slavery, it meant profound tragedy, conflict, and loss. Our goal here is to explore these deep contradictions together, rather than just settling for simple answers.
In Unit 1, we unpack prehistoric North America, the complex forces of colonization and the devastating reality of transatlantic slavery. We'll also dive into the cultural mindset of the time, exploring fascinating ideas around mythology, rationality, and religious piety. This initial 3-week period is completely foundational. It sets the stage for all the complexities that follow by revealing the exact ingredients that went into forming a brand new society. Now, a massive part of historical study is navigating the constant tension between myth and history. You know those comforting childhood stories about early America? Well, how often do they conflict with complex historical realities? This is where actual evidence from primary accounts comes into play. By using the real, unfiltered words of people from the past, it becomes possible to separate the comfortable myths from the often uncomfortable, nuanced historical truths. Section 3, expanding and dividing. How did the United States define itself while expanding and dividing? It's kind of a fascinating paradox when you think about it. As the young country physically grew larger, adding massive amounts of territory, the people inside it started growing further and further apart ideologically. Physical growth almost inevitably meant growing rifts over politics, power, and basic human rights. Over 4 weeks, our focus is going to turn to the very first political battles between Federalists and Republicans, alongside major waves of national growth and reform. It's this constant weighing of nationalism, which pulls a country together, against sectionalism, which tears it apart. Exploring early social movements, where everyday people fought to reform society, really highlights the early tug-of-war that ultimately pulls the nation toward the Civil War. An absolutely crucial concept here is manifest destiny. This was the 19th century belief that the expansion of the U.S. across the continent was not just a good idea, but totally justified and completely inevitable. But rather than just memorizing a textbook definition, the key is asking the critical questions. Who benefited immensely from this belief, and who suffered terribly because of it? By stripping away the modern politics we see on TV today, we can objectively compare these early political factions, the Federalists versus the Republicans. It quickly becomes clear how these initial arguments over government power, the economy, and individual rights formed the very bedrock of American identity. Passionate political disagreement hasn't just popped up recently. It's been part of the American DNA from the very beginning.
Section 4, the epic 11-unit spine.
The first half of the year moves rapidly. From Unit 1's colonization and Unit 2's focus on revolution and the rights of citizenship to establish the country, we flow right into Unit 3's formation of an American identity. The tension finally snaps in Unit 4 with the Civil War, followed closely by the massive challenges of Reconstruction and the shifts of industrialization in Unit 5. Then, turning outward, the U.S. steps onto the world stage with global imperialism and World War I in Unit 6. The second half dives into domestic highs and lows in Unit 7. Specifically, we'll review the underlying economic causes that triggered the devastating stock market crash and examine its profound community impacts during the Great Depression. A huge part of this is learning to actually transfer that historical reasoning to entirely new historical cases using claims, evidence, and consequences to see cause and effect in action. After that, Unit 8 plunges into World War II, Unit 9 covers the Cold War and civil rights, Unit 10 explores power, politics, and protest during the Vietnam War era, and Unit 11 wraps up with America's challenges for a new century. It is a truly epic timeline. Section 5. Your tools for success. Your goals for the year rely heavily on active verbs: explain, analyze, connect, compare, use evidence. By taking primary sources and reading the actual historical words of people from the past, you'll use those pieces of evidence to construct original, thoughtful arguments. That is how real history is done. We're transitioning from merely listening to stories to actively uncovering them. So I'll leave you with this. How will exploring these deep historical challenges change your understanding of America today? Because every debate happening in the news right now, every discussion in your community has its roots planted deeply in these 11 units. By the end of this journey, you won't just know what happened in the past. You'll have a powerful, brand new lens for understanding the present world.